how do people initiate engaging with Māori community, is to recognise that you're on a learning journey as well, and that your main learning could actually be about the Māori worldview. So what I'm going to share with you today is a lot about Māori worldview, and this is something that you can explore with your children, with your students, and I think that they would have respect for you, that you are making the effort to learn this, and also learn with them and teach with them alongside each other, because you will learn from them and they can learn from you as well. And for a lot of the children, this will be new learning as well. Māori worldview is that you almost have to take off a colonial way of thinking and put on an Indigenous way of thinking, because the Māori worldview is very much metaphorical and also metaphysical. Now, metaphorical you're possibly familiar with. We sung the Waiata Together Hutia Te Rito, and in that the flax bush is likened to human society, whereas the community is made up of so many families growing together, and that's just like the flax bush. And at the centre of the flax bush is the most vulnerable of the leaf, which is the child, relates to the child in society. So that's where the metaphorical comes in, and right throughout Māori language is the metaphorical references. The metaphysical is that fact, what we deem as fact and what we deem as fiction when we have a colonial perspective on, is different in Te Ao Māori. The mythical and the reality, or our living world, they actually entwine, and we don't need to pull them apart and analyse which is real and which isn't, which is fact and which is fiction. We don't need to do that. We just embrace it and accept it as it is. That's why myths and legends are in the true section of the library. Some of you will be familiar already with a concept which was promoted by Dr. Mason Jury as a model of health for our New Zealand society. And in that model of health, which is now used throughout all the health agencies in the country, as well as in the school curriculum, and in a lot of businesses and organisations also make reference to this, it explains health as having 4 dimensions. And in Māori we call that a dimension a taha, meaning a side. And so I'm just going to demonstrate that using some harakeke here. Te whare tapa whā is the model that is promoted, and that's where the 4 sides of the house. Can anyone share what they know already about te whare tapa whā?
Physical and social.
Ka pai. So it's a total health and well-being. We seem to be caught up in the Western medical system of thinking of health as being something that happens to the body and you go and get it fixed by another person. This is coming from a different perspective now, that in fact there are more elements that impact on our health and well-being, which includes, you mentioned them already, so we'll just make a little whare here out of these. If we look at the model here, we've got 4 walls. A tapa whā, in Māori, tapa is an edge, whā is 4. So tapa whā is a quadrilateral, a 4-sided figure. So we've got here 4 sides representing tinana, the physical dimension, wairua, the spiritual dimension, hinengaro, the intellectual dimension, and whānau, the relationships dimension. And within that whare tapa whā are all the family members. So it's not just an individual, it's the collective. So we don't have one person sitting in the middle of that. Now, if any one of these was to come unstuck, if your physical health was to deteriorate so bad, it's going to impact, it's leaving that whare vulnerable, and it's going to impact on all the members of the whānau and there collectively. If someone's mental capacity is compromised for whatever reason, then it opens up vulnerability to the collective group as well. And so you can see that happens for each of the dimensions, spiritually. And of course, relationships. If you don't have good, strong relationships and connectiveness to others, then that can leave the whole group vulnerable as well.
So why is it not just the individual in the middle? Why is it so it affects everyone that's around the individual? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. For example, if the mother in the household if she's under a lot of stress and it's affecting her ability to think clearly, make choices for the family, then absolutely, you know, it can affect the rest of the family. Similarly, if a member of the family, say, is diagnosed with cancer, it's not just the individual who bears the brunt of that, the whole family.
Strength for the, or like equal importance?
That's a very good
or
question.
Do you think there's more weight on one of them or some of them?
From a Māori worldview, they would all be equal.
Yeah.
Yes, because if any one of those walls is weakened, everybody is compromised. So looking at that now and moving from this model, which is really focusing on the hauora, on the health and well-being. Some describe that as hauora, some describe that as waiora, and they're both references to the well-being. Ora, meaning to be well and to be alive. When we say to someone kia ora, we're saying be well. We're wishing them wellness. Waiora is wai meaning water, but it's also to do with identity. So, and the word ra means the sun. So Māori language has different depths of meaning. If you were experiencing the ocean, you can experience the ocean by skidding across the surface in a jet boat going really fast, and you get one perspective of the ocean. You could paddle it in a kayak or a canoe, and you get another experience of the ocean. You could swim in it and get another experience. You could snorkel in it and get another experience, and you could scuba dive or dive in it. They're all experiencing the water, but at different levels. So Māori language is like that too. When we're coming in at a learner level, we're skimming on the surface in a speedboat. But once you start really looking into the makeup and the whakapapa of the words, you're getting into the scuba diving department. So the word ora is meaning of the sun, and it's like we are all connected because we have this divine spark of energy that comes from the sun. So looking now at the tapa whā model, and now we bring in some additional dimensions. So the tapa whā is really focusing on the health and well-being, the total health and well-being. Now we bring in these additional dimensions, and we create a different symbol now. And we can see that there's something radiating out from the centre. So in the centre we have the whānau. And right in the very middle we have, what is the centre of the whānau?
The child.
The child. So within here we have the child, and we have the other family members that are nurturing that child, which is the future generation, the future leader. So we have all these other dimensions now that radiate out. Now so far these are covering health and well-being, but there's more to the people than just that. So there's also whatu manua, which are the emotions, the passions, your drive, what drives you, what excites you, the whatu manua. Mana is your esteem, your belief in yourself, your pride in yourself and your whānau and in others' perceptions of you. Mana can can grow, and it can also diminish in the eyes of others. So it can fluctuate in its power. Same too with Mauri. Mauri is our life force, our energy, and from a Māori worldview, not just people have Mauri, but so do animals, and so do innate objects like rocks. I mean, some of you may be wearing like a talisman of some sort, a pounamu or a greenstone. I'm wearing this tiki. And for me, this has like a Mauri. I feel good when I wear it, you know. So we say that things, innate objects, can also carry a Mauri that influence us and affect us. And taonga tuku iho, taonga is a treasure, tuku iho means passed down. So this, in some models, this is referred to as ngā kōrero a koe mā koroma. So the lessons that have been passed down to us from the ancestors is what that's in reference to. Now if we think of the sun, and the sun radiating outwards, the rays of the sun radiating outwards. And interestingly, the Māori name, the elements in the environment are personified in Māori as well. So the sun has a name. His name is Tamanui Te Rā. Rā meaning the sun, but his name is Tamanui Te Rā. And interestingly, so he's the big sun. The word for child is tamaiti. If you break that down, that's tama, the sun, and iti, the small. The child is like a little sun. The plural of that is tamariki, and riki can come from ariki, which means a supreme being. An ariki can be a god or a chief or a king. So that's how much children were revered. Riki can also mean tiny, so lots of little. So tamariki are like when you have tamariki, you have lots of little sons. There's actually a game that originates from my iwi from the from the east coast of the North Island called Mutorere. Encourage people to think and to look for solutions and to strategise and to plan ahead, to look about blocking and evading blocks. So in that game, if I just overturn every second one, so that we have 4 different markers of each size, the people take it in turns, and it could be 2 people playing or 2 groups of people playing, take it in turns to move a stone into the available space. So for example, I'm going to take this lovely purple one that's close to me. This now creates an available space here. So someone from my opposing team, let's say that's you can make a choice to either move this one or this one to the available space. The whariki, the mat, doesn't want to cooperate with me, but I'll hold it down a little bit. Would you like to move either one of these? You can make choices. So it's about making choices as well. Now you can see that an available space is created here. So now members of my team would make a choice about whether they want to move this one or this one to the available space here. And it's going to create a new available space. So the game continues in that way until such time as the opponent is blocked and actually can't move, because you can't jump across. You can only move to the next available space beside you or in the middle. Okay, so that's a game that you might like to play as well sometime. Or an octopus. So here's the metaphorical coming in again. So the amazing thing about an octopus, besides its 8 tentacles and its millions of suckers, is that it has 3 hearts. So we've got here not only whole water total health and well-being, but aspects that are going to help with intuitive and holistic teaching and learning. Because to be in a good space to learn, your mana, your esteem has to be well. For you to show your potential, when you're really feeling good about yourself, and that your modi is just going to be glowing. And of course, as part of our learning, we need to learn cultural heritage, and of course, showing of emotion. Learning is about showing emotion as well. Each of these dimensions is represented in the tentacles of the wheke, of the octopus, and the head symbolises the whānau unit, the family unit. Remember in the tapawhā model we had the family at the middle? So it symbolises the family unit, with of course the child at the centre of that, and the eyes represent the well-being of the entire collective group. So the Waiora, as I said, it's a reference to the divine spark, the sun, but also the collective wellness. We've got the model of the tapawhā here and of Te Wheke. Te Wheke is the model that is promoted by Dr. Rangimarie Pere. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman and is renowned, known globally throughout the world as an Indigenous leader and a wisdom keeper of Indigenous traditional knowledge.